You ever notice how most people don't forget on purpose? They just remember the wrong things faster. Yeah. You see, they remember the pain, not the lesson. They remember the scroll, not the scripture. They remember the noise, not the note. And if that's you watching, that's exactly what happens when your spiritual RAM gets straight hijacked. See, you're always working, but never remembering. Let me ask you this. Has this ever happened to you? Real innocent. You open your phone to check just one thing. Next thing you know, an hour's gone and you're left with that weird, hollow feeling. Because that's not just distraction. That's short-term consciousness stuck on loop. Let's start breaking this thing down. You see, your mind's got layers, man. Short-term, long-term, and executive. But somewhere between all the tabs you've left open, your working memory, which is the bridge between heaven and habit, that got flooded with static. So you see, I keep saying, and it's worth repeating, you're not broken. You're just buffering. Think of it like this. Every time you hit snooze, you're training your nervous system to negotiate obedience. That's no gusto, because obedience is the only thing that keeps consciousness coherent. So now you think it's innocent. You're just delaying your day. But really, you're teaching your soul to hesitate on God. Now let's really break this down and get techie, man. You see, neuroscience calls it working memory, but heaven calls it faith in motion. So the same circuits that hold your grocery list are the ones that hold your gratitude. The same bandwidth that replays your fear was built to recall your faith. So when short term floods long term, you lose spiritual interoperability. Like you can still function, but not feel. You can still plan, but not pray. You become emotionally mechanical. And that's how a soul turns sociopathic. It's not evil, just disconnected from empathy for itself. Like you ever feel like you've been running for years and years and years hard, going real hard, but you can't name what you're chasing? And that's because most of us are in a rush to go nowhere. Preparedness turned into panic. We keep measuring growth by grind, not by remembrance. I had this great mentor one time. He told me real quick, yo, Jeff, dates are arbitrary. And he was right, because faith has no deadlines. Faith doesn't need to be sticky. It needs to stay synced. You see, you don't fail when you miss a goal. You fail when you forget who you are reaching for. That's that influence. And think of it like this. God can't whisper new truth into a mind that's still reciting old noise. So every "I already know you" speak is a firewall against revelation. So now short-term consciousness handles the now. Long-term holds the why. Executive consciousness regulates the how. And the working consciousness, that's the handshake protocol, keeping it all tight. So when they align, you are interoperable. When they drift, you're interruptible. Don't miss the difference, all right? So that is why your morning prayer matters. That's why stillness matters. Literally, you are rebooting the divine network. You ever wonder why the world sells you abundance? Like it's supposed to feel good all the time, always at peace, always great, always cheery. That's counterfeit consciousness, because true abundance isn't constant happiness. What is that? True abundance is constant awareness. God lets you taste sorrow so your joy has weight. Otherwise, you'd never know you were alive. Think of it like this. Even God said, "Let there be light." And he never unsaid it. Light is still expanding. That means consciousness is still expanding. And if that's true, why do we keep shrinking ours? So you see, short-term abundance without long-term remembrance is spiritual inflation. You keep printing emotional currency with no divine backing. That's why anxiety is through the roof, because the market of meaning collapsed. Preparedness isn't panic. Preparedness is peace and practice. Faith doesn't forecast. It foresees. So let's pull this in close for a second, because everything we just said, the science, the spirit, the short term, the long term, it only matters if you can use it. So you can't just understand consciousness. You have to operate in it. And this is where we do that together. That's right, baby. It's that time. Ooh, let's do you, and let's do you together. Here's 5 moves, 1 consciousness, everyday interoperability. You know we start with disrupt. You want to catch yourself in real time. When you reach for the phone, your phone, pause real quick and ask, what am I really checking for right now? That's how you interrupt the autopilot. Every disruption is a tiny act of spiritual remembrance. So you want to disrupt the moment you hit snooze on your phone, on your dream, on your purpose. Then you want to own it. Do yourself a favor. Don't say, "I'm fine," when you know you're not. How about you say, "I'm processing"? That one word changes your entire nervous system. You can now stop pretending and start permitting. You own it by saying out loud, "I'm distracted." And that confession right there is the reboot command. Then you want to yield. This one's hard, somewhat obvious, definitely required. You don't have to control every outcome. Half the battle of peace is letting God run the routes you can't see. Yield isn't weakness, it's wireless trust. Don't rush to make up time, return to rhythm. Even heaven resets every 7th. Then you want to observe. Next time that same trigger, that same person, that same problem shows up and it's coming back, trust me. Don't react to it, record it. Say it to yourself, "I've seen this loop before." Observation turns repetition into revelation. And you want to unleash. Move again, refocused, realigned, remembered. Every step now is spiritual bandwidth restored. Move different, not louder, cleaner. Say no faster. Say yes slower. You're not trying to impress anymore. You're trying to interoperate. Those are your 5 moves. That's your 1 consciousness. My beautiful community of influencers. In our final moments together, let me be a reminder. To God, the infinite, the all. You don't need new faith. You need remembered faith. Short-term obedience, long-term remembrance, executive peace. That's consciousness in motion. That's interoperability in real time. So before you scroll, before you snooze, before you forget, sync your soul. Bring you back, bring God back, because you own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.